So I'm really glad that Jed, can you guys all hear me?
Yeah. Very well.
I hope this is going to work. It might take me a while. But I'm really glad that Jed announced the thank yous to everybody, because I'd probably start crying if I got into that right now, and I'm going to try really hard to hold it together. But I'm just so thankful to every single one of you and to all of Tofino for support.
Here, here.
I've been feeling it so much, like even from people that I don't know and from all of you, and I just feel like I wouldn't be able to be standing without that much love coming at me at the same time. So thank you all so much.
You got this, Nudge.
And
You got this.
thank you. And I just also want to let everybody know, I know there's a big elephant in the room about me being really skinny. And gotta eat. Okay, I just have to tell you, I was skinny from the second I was born. Okay?
True.
And I remember Shane, who's not here, but he always used to bug me. Dad always used to say, you gotta eat more, you gotta look at how skinny. Okay, I am strong and I'm feeding myself, so don't worry about it. I'm eating. Okay, so I was like having a really hard time thinking about what I was gonna write, and it was giving me anxiety, and I was like, what am I gonna say to everybody? And just the other night I was like, okay, I'm just gonna clear my mind, I'm gonna sit down and start writing and see what comes out. And this is what came out, and this is my story of Koa, and I'm sure there's lots of different stories of Koa, but this is mine. So I'm just gonna start reading, see what happens. I might have to pass it off to somebody.
That's okay.
I can't do it.
I can do it.
Okay. So this is so, and tell me if you can't hear me, because then I'll use the mic.
You're fine. We can hear you so loud. It's good.
You're good. So as many of you know, Koa was born into an atmosphere of deep love. At the age of 19, I was impatiently wanting a baby. So when I found out that I'd been doing the rhythm method backwards and was pregnant, hence his middle name, Mahalo, which means thank you in Hawaiian. And Koa, which Dove named, means warrior, brave, bold, and fearless, which he absolutely was. Throughout my pregnancy, I felt overwhelming appreciation every day for him, and so did Dove. We just were so happy. His birth into this world was so beautiful, as Kelsey knows. The daffodils smelt divine between contractions, and by the time I delivered him underwater into the pool that we had set up, the full spring moon was glowing through the window. My mom, Kelsey, Dove, and two amazing midwives, Zoe and Dana, were there to welcome him. I remember how he wouldn't stop screaming until Dove put his pinky in his tiny little hand, and he instantly stopped and stared straight at him. We got to see his deep, deep eyes, and he was calm. I felt so much love for him, I just cried. Bringing him home to Tofino, I was terrified to care for this precious little being alone, while Dove went back to work. Luckily, the Tofino family was there for me, cleaning, caring, and cooking for us. And it's amazing to me that our Tofino family supported us so much in his entrance into this world. We moved away when he was 1, and I cried again. And I tried to move back so many times, and it never worked. And then we finally moved back, and then now they're supporting me again with his exit. So it was like the birth, and then it's what I call it. I see it as a circle of love for him. Koa was a special baby. Well, all babies are special, but he was unique from the start. He would lie on his back and look up like he was watching something, and then just burst into giggles, and sometimes just smile peacefully. And when he could finally talk, he would tell me about the angels. One time when he was 3, he kept his hands over his ears and said, "Mommy, I'm listening to angels," and he wanted to go see them. He was my angel boy, and I called him that. He had a heart of gold. He was the friendliest baby, always so excited to meet people and so eager to make people feel good. When his sisters joined the family, there, little princesses, people always asked about jealousy, and there was never a shred of jealousy in Koa. He just wanted to help me and to play with them, and he loved his cousins. He loved Kai so much that every time he knew he was coming to visit, he would get a fever, have to stay in bed, and then puke. He did. By the time Kai would get to our house, he'd be ready to play. And it got to the point where I had to have the cool cloths and bucket out, like if I told him that he was coming, just to get ready. Like, it was ridiculous. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
School was so hard for Koa. In grade 2, he came home crying, and we had to chat on his bed. He said his eyes watered too much, and the lights hurt his head, and his ears hurt from so much noise, and the colors he saw around people made it hard to see the board. So off to the ears and eye specialist. Perfect vision, healthy eyes. Perfect hearing, healthy ears. He was an avid learner, and when he was interested in something, he became a genius at it. By the age of 7, he knew more about spiders than Wikipedia will ever know. It's true. But his learning style didn't fit the school structure, which led to special needs labeling, which led to bullying in almost every single grade. It broke my heart. But he was true to his name and so brave. He kept trying and trying. He tried so hard to be good at school that he would cry over his homework. Even when I tried to get him to stop and go play, he would just keep working through his tears. It was heartbreaking for me. School was not for him, and luckily he had some good friends throughout his life that lessened the burden. And Michaela and Davina loved him immensely. And together they would play endless, highly imaginative, intricate games together. He got to experience a lot of joy in our family unit, as you can see in the photos and as a lot of you remember. But throughout his life, he still often talked about going back home to the angels. He would tell me in detail that what he was seeing when he looked around, and his descriptions were usually beautiful, sometimes not. Sometimes I didn't want to hear what he was saying, but he was never scared. His whole life,
Mama,
I was
I made
nervous,
my own crown.
feeling like he was held here by a string.
I made my crown. You see,
I
it has
remember
these
getting
all
drunk
on
and
other
crying
every
on
side.
Friend's shoulders more than once because I sensed he would pass before me. I tried so hard to engage him in sports, alternative programs, his passions. Other people tried, like Mei-Ling tried so hard to get him into all sorts of school systems, and she tried every single different program on Salt Spring that she could find to fit him in, and there was nothing, like we tried so many different programs and nothing worked. He still talked about wanting to die. As Koa got older and turned into a teen, life got even harder for him, trying to fit into social structures that were backwards to his true, gentle, loving, giving spirit. He would literally shudder with disappointment when I brought home meat that was raised unethically. He'd get mad at me about that a lot. And same with like butter. Like he would make me buy $16 bricks of butter. Like I was like, hey, we have to split it at least. we had a chart on the fridge of like how much butter, and we split it at like $16.
He'd eat 90% of it.
Yeah, Noah's brick, don't touch it, it's like gold. That's how he was. And the noises of regular traffic and life hurt his inside of his ears. He was like in physical discomfort. The way people live in stress, discomfort, greed, and disconnection with their inner truth just really, really bothered him. His wisdom and brilliance were actually beyond anyone's that I've yet to meet. And I know a lot of people who have had deep discussions with him feel the same. I know people always knew to have a conversation with Koa, you got to be prepared to go deep. He was incapable of small talk. He went straight to the truth of every conversation and often spoke in riddles that had you stewing for days, and sometimes they'd just be over my head. And many of us would slough off the hidden gems of wisdom like, oh, that's just Koa being Koa, and later realizing the profundity of his words, and sometimes just never quite getting it. His predictions were always accurate and precise. He was a boy ahead of his time. He loved me so much. He had a plan when he got his last job at the gas station to save up his paycheck so he could take me, Michaela, and Davina to Vancouver and stay in the nicest hotel he could find us. He wanted to take us to dinner at Michaela's favorite spot, the rotating restaurant.
Aww.
And he wanted to take us all shopping for clothes because he loved fashion and he loved shopping. And he had it all calculated out how many paychecks he would need and everything, but he was fired. He couldn't handle that kind of. Towards the end of his experience here, he began to talk more and more about being self-loving and treating ourselves like kings and queens. He saw the value within each person that they themselves couldn't see. His intense anger towards me, I realize now, was a result of the pain he felt because he saw that I was diminishing myself and he wanted me to be happy so badly. Unfortunately, this slew of psychologists and psychiatrists never caught on to that. He went through so much of that, psychiatrist, psychologist, medical system, trying to figure that stuff out. And nothing came of that ever. He was also obsessed with the truth. He'd ask me a question like, how are you? And I'd just be like, absentmindedly answer. And then he'd get so mad. And he'd call me a liar. It was rattling. He wouldn't let me get away with being distracted, stressed, or anxious. He shook me until I had to bring everything in my life to a standstill and listen. And what he was saying all along was the truth. Everyone deserves more. He wanted me so badly to be happy and follow my heart and treat myself well and be present in the moment. He wanted me to treat myself like the queen he saw in me. But not just me, he wanted everyone to see their own value and worth and treat themselves well and be true to our hearts. He talked endlessly about ending suffering and pain and being free. He talked about living like the fool who steps off the cliff onto an invisible bridge in innocent faith. Stay foolish, stay hungry was one of his favorite Steve Jobs quotes. Koa once told me about a Kobe. He said it's a fireball of chaos that explodes in your life and leads you to enlightenment and self-love. Through his behavior, Koa forced me to change my mindset and patterns of thought that had me rushing, feeling guilty, and undeserving. And for him, I had to stop and come to a place of peace within myself because I wanted to help him so much, and I knew I had to be stronger for him. So I made a commitment to change myself for my beautiful, loving angel boy, because I would do anything for him. So I started eating better, I slowed down, and I actually felt the ground when I walked. And I started listening to my heart and to ask it questions, and I started listening. And I realized that as I slowed down, I was able to see people more clearly, and the light coming out of their eyes and the love within themselves, and I started to appreciate myself. Koa tested me so many times to make sure I was anchored in this place firmly, and he treated me in the worst